So apparently Megyn Kelly believes that 15 years old means barely legal. This and more in today's video. Hello, and welcome back, roommates, to another titillating edition of Alexasrewm, where we are not lawyers, we are not medical professionals, we are not law enforcement, we are just people who have opinions about all things going on in the true crime community, including chick who's ranking brooming types like she's filming her latest TJ Maxx haul, who says, I know somebody very close to this case, meaning the Jeffrey Epstein case. And in this person's view, he was not a PDF file. He was into the barely legal type. Like, he liked 15-year-old girls. He wasn't into, like, 8-year-olds. There's a difference between a 15-year-old and a 5-year-old. Just watch how fast Chris Hansen materializes behind you.
This is this person's view, who was there for a lot of this, but that he was into the barely legal type. Like, he liked 15-year-old girls. And I realize this is disgusting. I'm definitely not trying to make an excuse for this. I'm just giving you facts. That he wasn't into like 8-year-olds, but he liked the very young teen types that could pass for even younger than they were, but would look legal to a passerby.
It doesn't make any of that any less disgusting, disturbing, or depraved. And I wasn't going to talk about this because I'm not a political channel. I don't even want to get into the Epstein stuff because it honestly makes my stomach churn. But this irked the ever-living poop out of me. So I don't care what side of the political spectrum you land on. If you're watching these videos, I appreciate the ever-living heck out of you. And if you ever felt like your own experience has been minimized or brushed off, just know that I hear you, I see you. And it is a big deal, and yes, it does matter. I've talked about this a little bit mainly when I first started diving into this Andrew Birchmore case, and I don't really feel like the need to bring it up a lot because it doesn't affect every single aspect of my life on a day-to-day basis. I'm happy now. I have a wonderful relationship. I live in the place I've always dreamed of living. I'm doing the thing that I've always wanted to do with my life, or never thought I wanted to do for the rest of my life, and here I am doing it. But being broomed as a child, I was 14, was broomed by a 40-something-year-old man. He was a mentor of mine. He was a community theater director in a musical of the Christmas Carol that I was cast in. It's affected a lot of big milestones, a lot of big relationships that I've had, not just intimate relationships romantically, but also relationships within my family. How I view friends and friendships, it's always orbiting around me, so it is a big deal. Thankfully, my sister found these messages that this man was sending me. I didn't have a proper cell phone at the time. He was messaging me through his cell phone to my email that I had, which was all private. My parents didn't have access to it, so they really didn't know what was going on. Both my parents worked. And one day he sent me a semi-graphic photo. And I guess I had it pulled up or something. I went to the bathroom. My sister was home. She found it. Didn't say anything to me. But she had already been kind of suspicious of him. She had made a couple of comments about him. I would get defensive over it, obviously. Because this is somebody I saw as a father figure, somebody who I looked up to, who I thought believed in me and had my best interest in heart. And she told my parents, they alerted the police, and thankfully, nothing progressed past that message, that semi-graphic message, and him hugging me, him talking to me like I was his girlfriend, like he was my boyfriend. And I think one time he might have touched my leg. And I'm incredibly grateful and lucky that nothing more happened to me, because I know that's how it starts for so many young people. And I know that there are so many other people, adults even too. Adults can get broomed and manipulated by people in power. People of all ages can get SA'd, and it's equally as harmful, destructive, and disturbing when it happens. It's one of the most horrific things another human being can do to another person. And that's why it's even more vile when you find out that it happens to children who were just learning right from wrong. There was this girl who I didn't find out until I was called to the DA's office when they were prosecuting his case, because they had found thousands of illegal images of children on his computer in a house he had brought me to previously with this girl who was, I think, 18 or so at the time that I met her. And I found out from the DA that she was his girlfriend. She identified as his girlfriend. And he had been brooming her and essaying her since she was my age. And I had met her, conversations with her, we all hung out together, because he would pick me up, drive me places, take me to restaurants with his friends. He would tell his friends that was his girlfriend. Adults, other 30, 40, 50-something-year-olds, some of who had children. And those same people bailed him out of jail. And when he was arrested, I felt guilty. I felt sad. I felt sad because I thought I lost a friend. I thought I lost my only shot in getting into the acting industry. At the time, I didn't have any connections or know how to get into it. And I thought, well, this is, I grew up on Long Island, New York. At the time, the only access to casting calls was this website, Deb's Web. Can't believe I remember that. They would post all the community theater casting calls. And Newsday would post like a little snippet, I think every Friday or every Sunday, of upcoming shows that you could audition for. So this felt like my one shot, and I felt sad about that. I also felt sad, like I did something wrong. I told on him, and I didn't want him to hate me. He felt like my only friend at the time, really, and I was transitioning from Catholic school into public school, so it was a hard time for me. But I also felt guilty. I felt guilty not only because in my brain I felt like, oh, I did him dirty. I told on him. But because when I started to realize what had actually happened and why this was wrong, I shouldn't feel sad because he never physically assaulted me. So I don't deserve to be sad about this. I shouldn't feel depressed or be struggling because I didn't have it as worse as other children, other girls my age who have been through worse than me. So when I see clips like this, that brings me back to how I feel of, oh, well, it wasn't that bad, right? And no, it could have been 1,000 times worse for me, and I'm so grateful and lucky it wasn't. But also, what happened to me did affect me. I had a really hard time my first year of high school. I had a really hard time with my body. I developed an eating disorder that could have progressed into something that could have severely affected my health in the long term. Every romantic relationship I had, probably my choice into getting into dancing for 6 years, and while I don't regret that, my relationship to my body and how I saw myself definitely was connected to me feeling all of those things from what happened to me as a kid, because that's what I was. And now being 30, I recognize that, yeah, I was still a kid. Anybody else saying, oh, well, it's not that bad because you weren't under 14. It's not that bad because you had boobies. You were developed. You asked for it. It has that same kind of tone to it, doesn't it? I'm not brave. I don't need you to feel bad for me. That's not what I want. I just want to be able to talk about this. And if there's one person who sees this or happens to see this, and they feel really low and really dark and feel like, hey, my experience isn't that big of a deal. It's a big deal. It's a big freaking deal. But you can have every single thing that you want and an amazing life. Just keep fighting through it. So, anyways, I did not want to get all teary-eyed on that. But here's a guy who probably heard Megyn Kelly's take and thought, finally, someone who gets me. Matthew Farwell is seeking to move his trial venue in the death of Sandra Birchmore. I wonder what her family would think of somebody downplaying, as we'll hear in a little bit from Deviant Divine, about what he thought about Sandra Birchmore. The former Stoughton police detective, or disgraced former Stoughton police detective, says pretrial publicity has tainted potential jurors. Lawyers for Matthew Farwell, 40, notified the court Friday afternoon, that's today, of their plans to seek permission to hold his trial elsewhere, anywhere but here. His trial is scheduled for next October. I can't wait to see the gymnastics they do in that filing. That document will address the voluminous pre-trial publicity in his case. I'm sure we're going to see a lot from clips from Mizzy and the Justice for Sandra Birchmore Facebook group and all of that, because they love to do that now, right? Just include social media links. Its impact on potential jurors in Massachusetts and the long constitutional rights requiring a transfer of venue. Now, of course, I believe he deserves the right to a fair trial. Right? I'd be a hypocrite if I said he doesn't. And even though I strongly believe he is responsible for her unaliving, or knows who did, and we know for a fact, it's written in black and white, that he broomed and essayed her since she was, I think, about 12. That we know. So he's a piece of human garbage, in my opinion, regardless. But he still deserves the right to a fair trial. Now, whether or not a change of venue or requesting one a year in advance is interesting. Especially when they keep playing the delay game with all of his hearings, all of these proceedings. I wonder if they're just waiting to see if, I don't know, more and more comes out, if there's anything happening behind the scenes. A lot of this is closed-lipped because this is being federally prosecuted. And shout out to our friend Laura Conlin on the Twitter X's for sharing this filing. She's been following this very closely, so make sure that you give her a follow on the Twitter X's if that's where you hang. Assented to motion for leave to file a memorandum in excess of 20 pages. Yikes. The defendant, Matthew Farwell, respectfully moves pursuant to Local Rule 7.1B4 for leave to file a memorandum in support of a motion to change venue in excess of 20 pages in this matter. So, quite the encyclopedia. As grounds, undersigned counsel states that Mr. Farwell's motion addresses the voluminous. I wonder who's going to make a guest star appearance, like what law tuber. Pre-trial publicity in his case, the prejudicial impact of such publicity on a potential jury pool in the District of Massachusetts and the law and constitutional rights requiring a transfer of venue. I mean, but to be fair, every criminal trial, especially now within the Massachusetts Bay area, is going to be spotlighted in some way, shape, or form, right? We're all just waiting for the next scandal. I mean, there's a lot of similar players in this case, especially because of the Canton Police Department's very, very minimal initial involvement before the Massachusetts State Police took over. All right, because Sandra's apartment was in Canton. We know Fanning's all over this from the Massachusetts State Police, and he's also involved in the Brian Walsh case, which will be starting jury selection for next week. So that'll be something we don't want to miss out on either. That'll be a not to be missed trial for sure. In order to properly marshal the facts and apply the law, undersigned counsel requests leave to file a brief in excess of 20 pages, specifically no more than 25 pages, excluding signature and certificates of compliance and service. So there, I guess it's going to be exhibit, this Twitter post, this Facebook post from the Justice for Sandra Birchmore, and look, oh, they did a standout, right? Counsel conferred with the government prior to filing this motion. Understands that the government assents to the relief requested in this motion. Therefore, Mr. Farfilth moves for leave to file his motion to transfer venue. That will be in excess of 20 pages. There has been more coverage, but I don't think to the extent where it would warrant a change in venue, in my opinion, where I don't think he wouldn't be able to get a fair, non-biased pool of jurors. I just don't. And if they were able to do that in the Karen Reed case, they're going to be able to do that in the Sandra Birchmore case, in my opinion. His trial also isn't scheduled to take place until next year, and who knows if it's not going to get pushed back even further, if he's not going to cop a deal. Who knows what could happen? What, if anything, could happen within that 12-month time frame? A lot can. So I also feel like, are you expecting more and more to come out? Possibly. Maybe they're just trying to brace themselves because of the Brian Walsh trial that's coming up, Fanning's involvement, his connection to the Sandra Birchmore case, Garino. So I don't know. But speaking of men who think accountability is optional, let's talk about Deviant Divine. So last week, he was in the news again because clips started surfacing from his secret proceedings that took place over the summer that we only just started getting little drips and drabs of information from, based on the reporting from Laura Grimaldi. And basically, he goes on to essentially victim blame and call Sandra Birchmore a liar, because when in doubt, right, she's just lying. She's crazy. She's making it all up. She was promiscuous. The sheer audacity.
So, Glenn, it's important to note that Robert Devine is not criminally charged with any wrongdoing in the Birchmore case, but his post-commission testimony, it could be used by the man who is, that is Matthew Farwell. Devine describes Birchmore as sexually promiscuous and untrustworthy. He says her family life was troubled. The former cop didn't believe Birchmore when she referenced sex with Matthew Farwell, and his testimony is putting scrutiny on the young person that federal prosecutors say is the victim.
What she said to me was, when she was propositioning, Matt and Billy like it. She said that one time. Like what? I assume she meant like sleeping with her, but I also didn't believe her when she said it. Why not? Because she lied about everything.
Devine's testimony, this was recorded back in July. The post-commission made it public last week on YouTube with redactions. The commission is responsible for police standards and training. Robert Devine is now an attorney. He told the commission even if he gets his law enforcement certification back, He won't use it to be a cop again. He only wants to clear his name. The final decision on Divine certification could come as early as this month.
So just when you think they can't get lower. Also, bro, have you looked at yourself? Who the heck is propositioning you? No one. No one. We'll continue to follow this case closely. I might do a deeper dive into the hearings. I haven't watched through all of it just because, again, a lot of it just makes my stomach churn, but it is important to talk about, to highlight, to continue keeping in the spotlight because, again, this is the same kind of rhetoric and the same kind of language that people are using to brush off some of the heinous things that people in the 1%, I'm not just talking about politicians and leaders, actors, celebrities, influencers, musicians. And if it's happening at the highest level, you can bet your bottom dollar is happening at a much lower local level. And that's terrifying. This is how things get covered up, brushed aside, made light of. And you're just highlighting the fact that because she grew up not having the ideal stable home like most children do, you're just highlighting her vulnerabilities and making yourself look worse in the process because she was more susceptible to being vulnerable and to trusting people. People in a police explorers program. That's why I call him deviant divine, because he's disgusting and a deplorable human being. But Trial Channel did upload a bunch of clips from this hearing. It was, I think, 2 or 3 days or so. There's about 6 clips here in this playlist. I'll link their playlist as well too, so you can watch it through. Make sure you give them a subscribe. Make sure you give them a like, and head over there as soon as you can. But with that said, it's not even like, oh, if you enjoyed today's content. Like, I know this is a very different kind of video than what I usually do, and I don't mean to bring the mood down, but this is something that completely grinded my gears, and I felt like I needed to say something. So, that said, our boy Coxsix is back in the headlines. A Boston police captain who's accusing police administrators of pressuring him to change an internal affairs report about a then rookie officer to help him avoid post scrutiny. And the officer's internal affairs record shows 13 separate cases and 26 sustained violations, including conformance to laws for drag racing. So we're going to talk all about that tomorrow. There's also some Turtle Boy updates, so hit that notification bell if you don't want to miss that next video from me. And until next time, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you then.